And a lot of people think of like the word intuition as like, okay, you just gotta be in your heart. It's gotta be in your heart. It's all. It's gotta be in your heart. That's great. But your heart will lead you all kinds of down all kinds of rabbit holes. I just got out of that. You gotta actually you gotta have some guttural intelligence. You gotta have some guttural instinct, right? And that's intuition actually comes from the gut. And if your gut is malfunctioning, you better believe that that's going to be influential in your ability to critically think about how to move from one step of life to another in a way that's serving you, right? And how to overcome some of these potentially addictive behaviors or just whatever's holding us back. So that's a really important thing. Having guttural instinct, getting back into instinct, because that's the thing that we talk about, like civilization. Civilization is concretized. It's hard. It's a calcified environment that has stripped spirit from matter, right? And that's actually an interesting point too, like that I try to make. I've spoken at Agape, I think 4 times over the years. One of the things I'll bring in there with them is like, hey, like, you know, we gotta merge the material with the spiritual, because the way that spirit manifests itself is through matter. Otherwise, it can't express itself. The painting doesn't paint itself. The business doesn't build itself. You know what I mean? Like, spirit needs matter to imbue itself into, to experience itself in physical form. So if you have philosophy without action, then you have fantasy. But if you have action without philosophy, you have chaos. And that's really kind of what we're dealing with in our world, is we have massive action. Take massive action. Oh wait, why am I doing this? Forget it, who cares? Just keep going, and then just I'm gonna bust through the wall, right? I'm gonna heal myself. It's like, I don't know about that. Maybe you should just like stop trying to heal yourself. Maybe you should just like go relax, go in the ocean, go just kind of like, yeah, just do something else. Like, I don't think this is working too much, right? Is that hard energy. But then on the other end, if you're just like philosophizing, you're just meditating all day, and it's like you're just kind of like aimless or you're kind of ungrounded, then you can't actually manifest. You can't create. You only have half the equation. You're setting a vibrational template, but there's no movement. There's no continuity of movement. You're basically not able to transform yourself. I think that's probably the most relevant place to take this, is like, what is this all about? It's about transformation, right? How does somebody actually transform themselves? You know, we have these words like healing, processing, transforming. Very rarely do I find somebody tell me that they've healed. I've processed. I've transformed. You see the difference there? There's one that's kind of a perpetual loop. And it's like, oh, I'm just in my healing process. Just healing, yeah, I'm just, can't quite get there, I'm like, no, I'm still healing. Just processing. Yeah, we got to process all night long, weeks on end. Just got to keep going, got to keep pushing the button, got to keep retracing the steps over and over and over. And it's like, no, actually, I'm healed. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a decision you make. There's 2 ways I figured out that healing happens. It's either you just get so sick and tired of being sick and tired that you're like, F it, I'm healed. I'm going about my life. And then actually the habits that support healing start to align naturally, because you've declared to yourself that I'm healed. So all of a sudden it sets up a new identity for yourself, and then your psychology becomes one of healed. Therefore you stop doing things that oppose it. Mm-hmm. And then the other way healing happens is when you forget that you were ever in pain to begin with. Right? Like, that's what happened to me. The way that I got into all this is I was a semi-professional athlete. I was an Olympic hopeful for Taekwondo in 2008. And I'd spent my entire life since I was 4 years old in martial arts, playing basketball. I was a dual sport athlete. And that was my whole life in reality. And when I was 18, I had my first knee injury. and then I had to get a knee surgery. And then I was going through rehabilitation, corrective movement patterns, retraining my body to heal itself. But I didn't have the food part in. Couldn't quite that was not introduced to me properly. So I kind of was doing a lot of different things. And then at 22, I had another knee surgery on my other knee. And then by then it kind of started clicking like, okay, what I put in my mouth probably has some kind of effect on my body. Probably has something to do with something. I should probably look that up on YouTube, because I have YouTube. You should probably go and type in a search and see what comes up. It's free. No cost to me to just enter in and just roll the dice. Let's see what happens on YouTube University. And then I found some interesting stuff. And eventually I just found some stuff on vegetarianism, found some stuff on raw food and on grounding, getting out of the rubber sole we call a shoe that actually breaks your foot down and misaligns your anatomical alignment, throws everything completely off. I started learning about this stuff. I was like, man, this is exactly what's going on. So instead of just thinking about it, I asked myself a question. I said, what would happen if I adopted a 100% raw food vegan diet for 30 days? That's all it was. I was like, there wasn't a whole thing of I'm a raw vegan now. No. Let's just see what happens. What's going to happen if I adopt this approach? I'm seeing people, miraculous healings, miraculous weight loss stories, miraculous things that I've never heard before. And I'm over here on this side, they're telling me it's completely impossible and has nothing to do with what you eat, but here's this pill and eat it. It's like, okay, well I don't know, it doesn't really kind of resonate with me. It feels something's kind of off about that. So they're telling me that it's possible. They're just making me scared and afraid. And I'm not really feeling that. So at least there's some kind of glimmer of hope over here. So let me just try this and see what happens. Within 30 days, I forgot that I was ever in pain. I had been dealing with these knee injuries and scar tissue and inflammation for a number of years. And literally in 30 days of juicing, green vegetable juicing, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, superfood smoothies, getting barefoot and going and actually getting barefoot connected to the earth, getting in nature, getting sun on my skin, right? Getting out of the whole fear propaganda, the sun causes cancer and that whole story, and just actually entertaining possibilities. Within 30 days, I find myself almost possessed, forgetting that I ever was afraid to go running and re-injure my knees. And I go to this hill that I used to run for many years as a teenager, and I ran 5 miles in the hills, and I came back and I was the endorphins wore off, and I was like, wow, wait a minute, what's going on? I just ran 5 miles. I haven't done that in years. And then I started checking my knees and all this, and then I realized, whoa, I'm out of pain. There's no pain whatsoever. But even more powerful than that is I realized that I had forgotten that I was out of pain, that I had pain whatsoever. And that's when you know that you have healed. When the story, the reference point for the trauma or the whatever has completely left you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then from there you have something called transformation, because you have actually transformed yourself, whether you know it or not, or intended that to happen. And the only way we can transform ourselves is by getting out of the fear and doom and gloom program and just adopting a perspective of infinite possibilities. Let me just roll the dice. What can happen? If you actually take the perspective that you're always protected, mm-hmm. then you actually get into a place where that becomes your reality. Mm-hmm. And it's not just an airy-fairy kind of thing. You have to live it.